the man of the moment.
I thought I was going to have to log into ESO for a minute and drag him out.
The man of the hour.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Oh, not look, he's not working. Monday tonight, right?
Yeah. Tomorrow's going to be a fun day.
That should be fine now.
Still not seeing you.
No.
Little squares going around, isn't it? It's like the type of things that you'd use to keep a cat occupied.
My Wednesday is shite. Got meetings from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. with a 15-minute break. Yeah, I'm not doing that meeting.
Well, tomorrow we start the project. Because I was hired to do 6 weeks ago. They've only told me what it was entailing last week. And I turned around and said, no, I'm not doing this, and this. And it's like all panic. They wanted me to go down to Filton near Bristol.
Yeah.
To train people, and they wanted to train in general, which I don't stand in front of people and teach. So it's like, yeah, I'm not doing any of those. That's not what I was hired to do. I was hired as an IT support engineer, not stand in front of a bunch of people that don't know the first thing about mobile phones and teach them how to set up a mobile phone. So they all panicked and they dragged somebody else in to do it, but it goes live tomorrow, and I know for a fact it's all going to fail.
Yeah.
Because the person that's been running the project for the last year, I asked her a load of questions on Friday along this, who's looking after this, and most of them are to be determined. Yet it goes live tomorrow.
Madness.
Yeah. So tomorrow's going to be fun. I'm just going to be sitting back and watching it all fail while some of the management come in to watch.
Sorry, it's. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
I can't hear Sorrento.
No, I can't hear Toro anymore either.
Mine's reset everything, so it's going to be a pain in the backside. Sorry, guys.
Can't hear you at all, bud.
Yeah, you've gone quiet, Sarah.
Perfect.
No, I don't know. I had a call on. That's just the sound.
This is weird.
Why is it weird?
There we go. Fantastic. You made a noise. Brilliant.
So you haven't been able to hear us all this time?
Yeah, it's absolutely nothing. No, I'll be able to hear you, sorry, but it's not been coming through on Streamlabs.
Oh, right, okay.
Weird.
Right, fantastic. That's.
Got that out for Alex.
We fixed, Midi?
We can go, I'm going to have to mess with the cameras because they're not showing up.
Scratch myself. All right. Let's play a bit of music, get ourselves in the mood. It's been 48 days since we last played. Feels like
What the fuck are we playing?
it is a bit like that. I can't remember.
I remember us shooting a load of riders on camels, chasing
yeah.
after the thing, and bandaging Medi's arm. That's
Yes.
what I watched at the very end of the replay type thing. Otherwise, I'd have forgot that.
So you're currently in Ethiopia, tracking down clues as to what happened to the dig site that George Ayres, I believe. God, it's been that long.
Yes, I think it was.
George Ayres, the professor, had set off to do. And if you remember, George was part of that sort of the top of the council that was the cult that was interrupted by Winston and his group back in the 20s. Yeah, just my brain. 48 days is a long time to try and remember what the heck is going on. So I am trying to remember really quickly. So yeah, so you've come to Ethiopia to try and figure out, what happened. You learn that, as always, the dig was taking place sort of in and around the vicinity of the Dalol volcano, and not too far away from the Dalol village. And surprise, surprise, I think as one of you commented, the volcano erupted. And I seem to recall Ralph's comment was, yeah, of course it did. Or something along those lines. And so you've taken a train, the CMC, which was an Italian kind of mining company. You've taken the train down the line from the town, Mersa Fatma, down specifically to Iron Point, which is the end of the line. And near Iron Point is the village of Koluli. And yeah, as you mentioned on the journey down here, a bunch of bandits on camels had tried to attack the train, and the three of you had basically seen off the bandits, shooting them, taking out their camels, etc., to get them to flee. And so you arrived at so you'd arrived at Iron Point to be greeted by a load of children, as well as two or three elderly men wearing kind of not quite knee high, but not far off kind of waistbands, but nothing on their chest, maybe some kind of bangles around their arms, spears, etc. And they'd come to kind of, that was so stereotypical, wasn't it? Such a stereotypical description, but that's how they're described. And they kind of stand passively. The children all excited and kind of oohing and ahhing as they kind of look around your engine. But the elders, the tribal men, just kind of wait passively for you to do whatever it is you want to do.
Well, we've kind of established none of us speak the language, don't we? And our translator didn't come along, did he?
Don't we have the train driver?
You were driving the train.
Oh, that's right, we were.
No, there's
Oh, no.
We had two people. Yeah, two people drove the train because we were at the back shooting out the.
That's right, and he was making rolls, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Because we had to clear the sand at a couple of points because they've gone over the tracks.
Your translator will come with you if you had asked him to.
Can't remember whether we did or not. Because we can't speak the language. Well, I certainly can't. I don't think I've got anything in languages.
Okay.
Yes, I'm French and Spanish.
I believe your guide was a gentleman by the name of Jonas.
Yes.
He was Italian, but he also spoke some of the local languages, and he, but he was essentially an Italian European. You disembark from the train. You stand, you come out. The children are all looking up at you. Obviously, white men. Something apart from Joseph. Alfred, who is definitely not a white man. But Ralph and Joseph kind of grab a little bit of attention, being here, along with Jonas, to be fair, who's also white European, and one of the elders, or the elderly men, they are elders, I suppose, steps forwards, and he says something in his language, and he kind of looks at you quizzically. And Jonas looks at you. The man says, "Why are you here?"
I'm trying to remember the map now. We're heading to Iron Point, aren't we?
You're at Iron Point.
This is Iron Point. So we're heading to the dig site, wherever that was then.
So the dig site is on the outskirts of the Dalol volcano, or you've got the Dalol village, which is they're both in the same direction, but they're not quite in the same location.
You need to turn white on that map for me. If it's
Yeah, I'm all black too.
Yeah.
We all black. There's not really much to see on this map because this is a proper. What's going on here? That better?
Yep.
This is just a map of Ethiopia. We don't actually have a map of the actual area.
we had our map in next to
Hold on. I think this is what you wanted, isn't it? Right, got it. This is what you meant.
Yes. That's the last thing that we saw.
So you've kind of arrived at Iron Point.
we were heading to Delong, weren't we?
You were heading to Delong, yeah. The elders kind of. Why are you here?
I'll put my hands up and I'll say we are passing through to head to Delol.
Jonas kind of translates. The man stiffens and shakes his head and says something. One of the other elders comment and kind of also shakes his head and they tell us that nothing good will come going to Dalol. White man not welcome.
Why is this?
The lead elder kind of shakes his head and says something, and he says we should not discuss in front of children. Perhaps you turn train and return.
We're looking for a man called Ayres, who was at the lull. Do you know where he went? Because we believe he survived the volcano.
He shakes his head. Jonas tells you he's never heard of a man by the name of Ayres. he kind of looks up and frowns for a second, and then kind of says something and makes sort of the come gesture, and the three elders just turn. And they call out, and the children kind of stop climbing all over the engine and start to scurry forward. They're inviting us to join them in the village.
Let's go. Keep an eye on your equipment.
Are you going to take anything with you?
They standing there with their spears.
Yeah, they've got. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm taking my metal spear with me.
Yeah, and the rifle. With
Yeah,
the,
no, my boomstick.
Your broomstick. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll go with that, but not in a threatening manner. Carrying it like they carry their spears.
Just out of interest, can we see the mountain from here?
You can. Yes, it's to your what would be your
Southeast, isn't it? Yeah.
southeast. Yeah, you can see it in the distance.
Is there
Slightly
still
hazy in the late afternoon sun, but you can see it.
there's still smoke or ash coming out of it? Or
No, that was a long
settled
time ago.
down?
Yeah, seems to have settled down at the moment. It is the sort of the crown or whatever it's called, the corona. I can't remember. Appears to have some bits of it missing, but it's generally it looks like a mountain / volcano. You follow the elders, and the children kind of run and scamper around you, chattering in their language excitedly. A couple of them stop and kind of gawk a little bit. You'd probably go a kilometre maximum from where you disembark the train, sort of to the north of where you are, across some dunes, and you end up in an area where you've got a number of kind of huts. Actually, not huts. There would be tents because these are afar. These would have been nomadic, but they seem to have set down. For the most part, set down routes. Here and there, you can see what appear to be buildings made of kind of a whitey coloured stone. You see in this place there are a mixture of ages. Everybody's very much dressed kind of in the similar way. The men wear these kind of clearly undyed, I won't call them loincloths because they're a bit bigger than loincloths, probably kind of skirts. The women wear a dyed variant of that skirt. They go topless, with bangles and things on their arms and stuff like that. But many of them stop and stare as you kind of follow the elders into the village. The children, as they arrive, sort of scatter off and disappear into tents or some of these kind of stone buildings. They take you to a fairly large building, and with some kind of straw or similar vine or something hanging. And they push inside, and there's a big kind of carpet on the floor, a couple of chairs at one end, and the man that was speaking to you takes one of his seats. The other two seats are occupied by two more of these elders, and they gesture you to sit on the floor.
Yeah, sit down.
Mm-hmm.
One of them speaks, and one of the women kind of scurries off. A couple of the women scurry off and come back with what appears to be bowls full of a milky white liquid that they place down in front of you, a stack of what appears to be strange, thinnish bread. What else would they put down in front of you? And some meat. And the elder says something, and he makes the whole, eat gesture.
I'll bow my head to him, and I'll reach out and take a piece of this meat.
Okay. The meat is dark meat.
Ah,
No, it's dark meat. Very almost beef-like in texture, but quite light, surprisingly light.
Almost like camel.
It is exactly camel. It is exactly. The drink in the bowls is milk, and the thin breads appear to be some kind of pancake. It's fairly basic food, but it's nourishing, refreshing. And they kind of sit back and they let you eat for a while.
Are they eating as well?
Yeah, yeah. And the kind of the lead elder, the eldest elder, he speaks as you're eating, and Jonas kind of sat to one side, begin to translate. It tells you that the tribe that lives in Dalol were once a broadly nomadic tribe, much like themselves, and like many of the Afar tribes are. He said it's not uncommon for members of the Afar, the individual tribes, to settle down in villages or cities, but typically it's a cyclical thing. You know, people, and he says about his own village. You know, people come and they travel. They might go down to Masar Fatma. They might go even farther afield. But Mercer Fatma, sorry. But eventually, all things come back, and people will return, and then from here they'll go off, you know, as a nomadic group and travel for a while before they come back. But the rooted Dalalites who have chosen to put down roots in the place known as Dalol appear to have slowly over the last few years become very much an anchor for their nomadic brethren. And it seems to have pulled many of the nomadic Dalol peoples to that place. And they're now at a point where the extended tribe as a whole no longer travels with the seasons. They just stay. And the elder makes it clear that to them this is very deviant behavior, both morally and logistically suspect. And they just don't abide, you know, it just does not sit right with their own views of the world. And tells you that, you know, many of the people who inhabit the village is the same tribe that provided the workers for the dig that you asked about, you know, George Ayres. That was the biggest source of labour back in 1924. And the original Dalalites, the original tribe, were known for mining and carrying salt from the salt fields to the coast to barter and trade. Cthulhu itself, and it gestures to where you are, is a minor hub for this kind of salt trade. None of the Dalal tribesmen appear to engage in it any longer. And, you know, he kind of almost in passing says, even if they did, they would not be welcome here. And so you get the sense that the reason they don't want you to go, or that you shouldn't go, is because of this kind of behavior that is now the antithesis of a nomadic tribe, a settled tribe. It just doesn't sit right with them, and for that they think there is something strange, and you should stay clear.
So they're not hostile, they're just a breach of culture.
Yeah.
In theory.
There is, you get a sense that from body language and things, and a couple of the furtive looks between them, that they might not be telling you everything, but they're certainly not willing at this moment to share.
Have they seen any other white men like us come through?
No, not for a while.
Mention the people that attacked us on the way here. Could they be tribesmen from Dalol? Are they taken to using firearms and things there now after encountering the white men when they were mining the area? Are they taken over their trappings and things? Are they still spear wielders?
He shrugs, and kind of Yoda translates. Without seeing them, it would be too difficult for them to tell whether they were Dalalites, whether they were other tribes. Not all people are welcome amongst the tribes. There are those who choose to go a life of their own, that choose to become bandits, become unlawful people. There are those who behave like this amongst the tribes, and we kind of excommunicate them from the tribes. They go off into the desert, they form their own group and turn their hand to banditry, murder. And they kind of do say, you were quite lucky that you managed to run them off. One second. Yeah, so that's kind of it. Now, if anybody wants to spend reassurance, oral history, a point from a pool, let me know.
See what I've got.
Yeah, I've got reassurance, but because I can't speak the language, would that work?
Yeah. Remember, I mean, Jonas will translate it for you. So reassurance is not just about the spoken word, but the demeanor in which you speak it and how you come over.
Okay. We don't. Do we actually need to go to the Lord? It's the dig site we really were after, isn't it?
That's exactly what I was thinking, just cutting across if possible, but
Yeah, I'll try and reassure them that it's not so much Dalol that we want as the actual dig site itself.
Okay.
If there's a way to get there without going via Dalol, we will avoid them.
Okay. Give me a 1 point spend. Cool. Listening to you and the translation and looking at your earnestness in which you kind of try and convey this. One of the elders kind of nods and says something quietly to the other one, and then he kind of nods back. And so this elder, he's not one that's spoken previously. His voice is different. It's quite husky, quite deep, but also quite old. You know, you're looking at a man that might be in his 60s, and in a kind of a half whisper, "That is good to hear. We have heard that some of ours who travel close to the village of Dalol, they have disturbing dreams in the night. I myself, a few years past, have such dreams. I dreamt that I was..." And he says something, and Jonas looks at him quizzically, and the man repeats it, but says it slightly differently, and Jonas kind of looks a little bit surprised, and then nods. And Jonas says, "I think he's saying that he had a repeated dream in which he chewed his own limbs off." And that one night he awoke to discover that he had bitten into his own arm so deep that it had bled and scarred. And as Jonas kind of finishes the translation, the man moves some bangles off his arm, and you can see scars on his arm that do look like a pair of teeth that just bit in and kind of ripped into some of that flesh. Sort of showing that pinkish scarred tissue in his brown skin, deep brown skin. And listening, one of the other elder nods, and we rarely see the Dalalites. They are even more perverse than we had said first. They hurt themselves. On the rare occasions that we've seen them, they are always bandaged or have copious scarrings or open wounds. And some of the villagers claim that they've seen the Dalalites cutting and biting themselves. For this reason, we banish them from our midst, and we strongly suggest you do not visit them.
No, we thank you for your honesty and the information you've given us, and yes, we will give this a very wide berth. But perhaps this is something we are trying to stop as well by going to the dig site.
He sits there impassively, doesn't really respond. He just kind of repeats his warning: stay clear of Dalol village.
Is there anyone here that could guide us to the dig site, avoiding Dello, or provide directions?
He nods. And we can have, one of the younger tribe would very much be able to show you the way. Though tonight you may sleep here, and he kind of just gestures to where you are. He kind of half apologetically sort of says, the comforts are not like home, but you are welcome to sleep here through the night, and we will arrange for you to be guided tomorrow.
Again, I will bow again, and I'll say thank you. Your hospitality will be known throughout these lands.
He nods, he thanks you, and the three of them kind of rise and make yourself comfortable. And they file out. A couple of the women kind of stay, kind of sat on their haunches, kind of just in the shadows, just kind of watching and waiting. They pull out wicked knives.
I was thinking,
Yeah.
so we fall asleep and then they slit our throats.
Right? One of them calls out something, and kind of Yona says that they wish to know if you wish for anything. Do you wish furs to sleep under? The nights can be cool.
That would be wonderful, thank you. Well, anything that stops me taking out my backpack is going to be brilliant, because they're a bugger to put back in again.
Yeah, they bring you some furs and pelts and things, and after a while they tidy up the food and things, and then they kind of leave you to it.
Does Dalal sound awfully like what they were doing in Los Angeles?
I don't know. Los Angeles seemed to be more carnal than
Well, do you remember?
injury to each other.
But do you remember all the deaths in Los Angeles where, out by the farm?
Yeah,
They were doing that, weren't they? Having sex with each other and killing each other, and
I don't remember them attacking each other. I thought it was the party of that were kind of retracing the steps of that did the attacking. I thought it was the side effect of the drug or something that was
maybe they found the source of this drug.
maybe.
It just seems very strange that we've travelled across half the world to come to somewhere that has the same carnal horror that we've just left behind.
It does sound like something's affected their mind in one way anyway.
And
Maybe it's the other place.
and it's not just the village. That chieftain said that he didn't go into the village; he just went to have a look and got close and was affected.
Could it be something in the air?
That's what I was thinking too. Like mustard gas almost.
Yeah, let's hope it's not fumes coming from the mountain, since that's the direction we're heading. Did I bring out gas mask?
Just got an image of the gorilla playing drums and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew I should have got a gas mask. Oh,
I've got a hanky. They work wonders.
yeah.
I mean, once
That's the closest I've got.
I think once I get close to the mountain itself, I can have a look at the rock structure and see if there's any rocks that are or any elements that are out of place or sending out fumes.
I'll stand in that doorway to the hut and look over at the mountain through the binoculars to see if I can see anything like fumes coming off it or campfires or anything that looks out of place.
It is dark.
Oh, right, okay.
Very, very, Ooh, very, very dark.
No campfires over there then.
Doesn't appear to be. If you if you look towards the mountain through your binoculars, it's dark. You don't really see anything, but as you kind of shift back, sort of to the west, you will see the lights of a village in the far distance.
In Dalal's location? No.
Yeah.
Right, okay. A lot of lights over there? Give it a rough number of the size of it.
You can't really tell. You don't know if it's built sort of on a rise and then down behind in a depression. It's very hard for it to see. There's a few dozen at least lights that you can see though.
Okay. Far apart or fairly close to each other?
Fairly.
I was going to say, getting scale from that nice in this distance would be hard to tell anyway.
Certainly on a par with Cthulhu, maybe a little bit bigger.
Okay. I'm trying to get a gauge of how many screaming natives are going to be chasing after us down the mountain.
As long as a plane's ready, we'll be okay. Oh no, it's a train, isn't it?
And yeah, and it's not like we can turn the train around.
Turn the train around. Well, no, it'll go backwards anyway, won't it?
Yeah, just hope it goes backwards as fast as it goes forwards.
Yeah, the train will go backwards. You doing anything overnight? Taking any precautions?
I think we should keep watch just in case someone comes from Doha or some of
Yeah, for
those.
sure.
Hello.
Okay, who's keeping watch? At what point?
I'll take middle watch.
I'll take the first watch then.
Okay, it is the middle watch. When the curtain kind of moves aside and a middle-aged woman, not one that you've seen before, kind of comes in quietly. She looks over at you, Joseph, and kind of in halting English, teacher, help.
You want me to help you?
Doctor?
My friend, he knows. What is wrong?
Friend sick, can't help.
Can you bring them here?
Pain to move. Come, I show.
I'm going to wake up Ralph because he'll be on watch next, and I'm going to mention to him that there's somebody injured, and I'm going to go have a look.
Oh, okay. You went on your own?
I think I should be okay in the village.
Okay, go out.
Yeah, so I will go off with her then.
And be back in an hour.
Yes.
What are you taking?
I'll take the first aid kit I've got. It'll be just bandages and bits and pieces, won't it?
Yeah.
I'm not a doctor, but I can see if it needs a bandage over it.
Okay. Anything else?
I'll take my sword, my trusty saber.
Okay. As you pick up your trusty saber and you go to buckle it around your waist, she comes over and she places her hand on it and shakes her head. No need. Safe.
It's part of my culture. I have to have this.
Okay. Okay. All right. How are you going to convince her?
I'm going to use my. I'm going to say reassurance because it's. I'm going to be a. I'll say. I'll put my hand on her arm and I'll say, "This is part of my family heritage. I have to have this with me. I cannot leave it behind. So, but trust me, it will stay there. It's like wearing a necklace.
Okay. Spend 1 or 2 points. It's your call.
I'm just going to spend the one.
Okay.
To roll or
No, just. Well, you just. Yeah, that's it. That's it. She steps back and nods and gestures to follow. You go outside into the cool air of the desert, and it is remarkably colder out here than perhaps the nights would have been in Mersa Fatma, and certainly the nights would have been in the city that you've left recently. The stars are out here and there. You can hear, in the distance, nighttime animal calls and cries. And she kind of takes you through past a couple of tents and things to kind of the outside of outside of the village, or just to the edge of the village. Sorry. And she kind of goes to a tent and she pulls the cloth back and she kind of, friend in here.
I will slowly enter while looking. Is it lit inside?
There is another woman laid under a cot. There is a light, a faint light in here, probably a candle or a lantern or something, and you can see signs of kind of beaded sweat on her forehead.
In which case, I will step forward carefully and cautiously and just put my hand on her forehead.
She's burning. She's definitely burning up.
Not literally burning.
No, not literally burning.
Oh.
Okay, it's good. Plenty of sand there to shook on them.
Just sand. How long has she been like this?
She kind of looks at you and day.
And is she drinking water?
Milk.
I suppose we won't have water out here, will it? It will be just milk. And she's not yet throwing it back up again. She's keeping everything inside.
Mostly. Been sick a couple of times.
And it's just the fluid. There's no blood or anything, is there? And she's
no blood.
Where does it hurt?
She gestures to her own right hand side of her abdomen.
Oh, it's going to be a bloody appendix, isn't it? As she's saying this, I will gingerly be prodding and touching and being as gentle as I possibly can.
And exactly where you put your hand, where the appendix would be, there is a moan from the woman. You help? You have medicine? Western medicine? She probably wouldn't say Western, she'd probably say foreign.
Not for this, no. I mean, she would have to go to the city the larger settlement we've just left.
She poorly?
Yes.
She die?
She could.
cannot help?
No, they would need to.
Because you haven't got medicine.
No,
way
no.
You've got the skills to open this
No.
and remove an appendix.
Oh, I could open her up, but it's just I wouldn't know what to do after that.
Not the kind of opening up she needs, is it?
No, no. Yes, I have seen this before, and if she does not go to a hospital, she will die or could die. It's out of character for a moment. The train driver's going to stay with the train, isn't he?
Yeah. The train driver and stuff is with the train. Yeah.
We could possibly send her on the train while we go to the mountain.
The Iron Horse.
Yes, the Iron Horse.
You want to go to the mountain?
Yes, we're looking where people were digging many years ago.
Why? Why do you seek those from a long time ago?
There is something strange happening, and it seems to be coming from here. Well, from the mountain, and we're just trying to find more information about what they were doing there and what they were digging for.
I may know, but you help my friend?
Your tribe has been very hospitable to us, so yes, we will help your friend.
Now or tomorrow?
I would have to speak to my friends first before I could say that.
What you know of the journey down here, going at night would have its own risks, not so much from the bandits, but if there's been any sand drifts across the track, you wouldn't necessarily see them until very late, which means the train could hit them and cause a derail.
Yeah.
It's possible, but not something you would rush to do.
No, and the other thing is it's carts on the back rather than having that little plough, like I'm assuming this train does on the front. So it would be safer in the morning when first light comes up.
Okay.
But I would still need to speak to my friends as well to explain the situation.
Speak, friend. Speak tomorrow.
How many days is it to the mountain?
You'd be at the mountain in one day, should you wish to go.
Sorry, just refresh my memory. The train journey was a few hours, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, the train can do the journey from Mersa Fatma to the to Iron Point in a day, because obviously you're travelling quicker. It was the majority of the day, to be fair, and then you'd be slogging on foot probably about 12-ish miles to the mountain in the desert. Hence why it takes a day, because you're going slow.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. I was just trying to get the timing right so the train gets back to us if we get back. So yes, I will nod. I will thank you. Just keep her cool if you can.
Mm-hmm. We will try. Tell me, why do you seek these people that dug at the mountain?
They were doing something wrong, we think.
What were they doing that was wrong?
Well, that's what we're hoping to find out.
And are you putting the wrong right, or do you wish to continue the wrongness?
No, we are putting the wrong right. If
They wrote the mountain. The mountain was angry at what they did. Will you wake the mountain?
I hope not.
I keep my friend cool, you say.
Yes, keep her cool.
Do you find your way back? Do you wish me to walk you?
No, I should be fine. But thank you. You stay with your friend, and I will see you in the morning.
Okay. She nods. She turns to her friend, and she kind of dips a cloth into some kind of murky brownish coloured liquid and dabs it on her forehead. Kind of just, and she's muttering to herself in her tongue, in her language.
I'll close the tent flap and I'll head back, retracing my steps. When I get back, I'll pull the tent flap again and step in and say to Ralph, it's appendicitis. I've seen it before, and I've suggested with the help they've given us that they could take the girl on the train to back to the city and hopefully get some help there.
Have we been given any help yet, really?
Sorry?
Have we been given any help, really? Yet?
Well, we have. They're going to help us to the mountain in the morning, and they've fed us. Well, they will.
So basically, on a promise of a service that we haven't got yet, we're trading away our means of getting back to civilization.
No, the train will come back for us.
Allegedly.
No, well, the train driver will be there. But I can't let this girl suffer like this. It's not something that I could just sit and do.
It's an appendicitis, and we're in the middle of Africa. I guess she'll be dead quite soon. But
there is the obviously there is the Italian army that are camped at Mersa Fatma, and they will have a camp medic. So
whether they'll do anything for an actual,
I mean,
an actual local,
you don't know. You
is
have
a
no
completely
idea.
other
But,
thing.
yeah, you have no idea. But yeah.
Sorry, Ralph. This young girl, I couldn't see suffer like that. And these people have been nothing but nice to us.
Walk out of the tent flap and just go away. You don't see us suffer then.
She was probably in her mid-20s, certainly. Okay. Can you do anything else? You're just going to go back to sleep and chill and keep...
Yeah, I'll go back to sleep.
Following morning, you're awoke by the sound of kind of sort of that dull clatter of sort of clay pots being kind of clattered together and placed down in the central area again on the rug. And you can see the woman that you saw last night in the middle of the night is actually the woman that served you the day before. And you can see the same woman, other woman that was that served you as well, the pair of them. And they put the food out. And the woman looks at you for a second and sort of says in slightly, in kind of halting and broken English, can we trust you?
He's eating the pancake so help us out.
Yeah, sorry, mouthful of biscuit. I've never let people down before. My word tends to be my bond.
And you are here to destroy, not rebuild. You are here to stop, not start? You do not wish to wake the volcano, or wake the mountain?
We're here to find out what was happening, and we don't know. We have no wish to cause any ill to anybody.
And what would you do with this information if you found out what was happening? Use it for your gain, or use it to stop?
No, a dear friend of mine's father died because of this, and I wish to stop this so nobody else dies.
She nods to the other woman, who kind of nods back, and then the other woman kind of literally stands and goes and basically positions herself just this side of the curtain into the building. And you now notice that, she stands with her arms crossed, and it's about now that you see the glint of a knife at her belt. The other one that took you to the tent last night. Smile. It is done then. We agree. We, and she kind of looks over to her friend, are part of an ancient body, secret among even our own people, trusted to ensure a great evil does not rise again, as it did in the time of our ancestors. I think we can trust you. I think your aims mirror our own. Dig that you speak of. Our body opposed the foreigners who came those years ago to dig at Dalal. Our alarm was great at what they were doing. We opposed them quietly, for we are not many, but few. We did what we could. We undermined them amongst their allies. We sabotaged their supplies. We did what we could to slow their progress. But they were tenacious. Despite the many setbacks, their chief, Acuna, and the American heirs were obsessed with penetrating the ancient chambers. And when they finally did, we had no choice but to open the seals upon our most potent heritage and end the shrine in fire.
So you made the volcano explode, erupt.
Do you want to spend a point of assess honesty, if you have it?
No, I don't think I do.
If it doesn't, I'm looking.
No, just call me Mr. Gullible. Tell me what you want.
Is it only you that's hearing this, or?
No, the three of you. She sat with you as you're eating your breakfast.
Right, I'll spend assess honesty then. So I've got it.
She doesn't answer Joseph's question. She just merely kind of stares for a moment. But the sense that you get is she believes that they did. She believes that whatever they did caused the volcano to erupt.
And what is this great evil you've been stopping from being released?
Just double check. I'm just double checking something. I don't know to what extent they know the answer to that question. She kind of looks at you and sort of, we we were merely ensuring that the mouth that feeds the stomach is still.
Oh, sorry, is that the mouth that feeds the stomach?
The mouth that feeds the stomach is still. For if the mouth does not feed the stomach, then the stomach cannot become wrathful. And so we merely wished to still the mouth. Ed and Akuna, they wish to feed the mouth, feed the stomach. We cannot have that happening.
I'm going to go out on a limb here. So, how many mouths does this thing have?
This thing is but a single mouth.
Is this the mouth of the volcano, or the mouth as in whatever was trying to stop it coming around? I don't remember seeing any reference to a stomach in the past.
The mouth, the volcano, when we opened our potent heritage and end the shrining fire, it was to seal that ancient chamber, to stop the American from entering it.
Did they survive? The people that, the Americans that were trying to.
Some did, some didn't. But it was better that than the mouth feeding.
Is this the time when the Dalalites started to be very strange?
She pauses for a second and she kind of knits her brows. I think not. The Dalalites were a nomadic tribe at the time of the destruction, the time of the eruption. They settled after the dig site had been consumed by the fiery lava or the fiery rock. So no, I cannot see that their strangeness would at all be borne out by the fire. Besides, it has been 10 years since the eruption, and the Dalalites have only recently settled in their location in the last 3 or 4. Do you wish to spend another point of assess honesty, Alfred?
Yeah, why not?
Right, just give me a second. Can we? Let's just take a quick 10-minute break. I've just got to do something. Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
Right. We'll come back to that in a second.
Okay. mouth of the volcano or this thing of 1,000 mouths? Does that
Hmm.
suggest it's an aspect of that, or
If it's the volcano, what were they feeding it? Was it sacrifices? Was it
yeah?
dynamite? I don't know.
Her and her sect. You muted. So you're not
Hey.
bragging.
Sorry, this ancient chamber has me intrigued.
Of course, the problem with whiskey is when you pour it yourself, you never really quite get the measure right, do you?
Is it to the brim?
Sorry?
Is it to the brim? If it's to the brim, it's fine.
Hold on. All right. So, another point of assess honesty, right?
Yeah, I just meant it.
Actually, that smells really nice. As you ask about the connection between the volcano, Dalol's behaviour, the dig site, her words are kind of saying, no, not really. But her demeanour and the way she just seems to look kind of suggests that now you've asked the question, maybe there is something there.
Are you suspecting now that there may be a link? What is it that you are not telling us that could be linked between Dalol and the volcano? This might save lives.
I don't know if there is a link. We are forbidden from visiting the village. But you're not. Perhaps you could go and see? Surely it's the responsibility of those undertaking such a journey to share with those who might come behind someday of the dangers of that road. If a poison tree flowers in the land, those who see it for what it is would be as evil as those who planted it to keep their knowledge secret, would they not? We are few in number, less than 2 hands. We are already stretched, keeping the eating pit quiet and sleeping. Perhaps she pauses and looks at you.
How are you keeping the eating pits quiet?
By ensuring the mouth does not feed it.
What is this mouth?
And what are they feeding it?
She pauses for a second. They feed it their being, their emotions, their state of mind, their state of body.
How do they do this? How are you preventing them from feeding it?
She glances over and you kind of see the other woman at the door shake her head. And she sort of she diverts the conversation a little. But yes, if you were to seek out the knowledge in Dalol, I can provide you a more reliable guide. We can provide you with supplies, things that will help you keep safe in the desert. She's deflected your question.
Yeah. She's done it in such a way that we do benefit from it.
So you can choose to spend a 1 point reassurance or a 1 point flattery to try and eke out what she's not telling you.
I think I've built up a bit of a bond with this lady, so I will spend a point of reassurance.
Okay.
That we're here to do good, to do the right thing, and all the information we can get will help us do this. Just out of interest, did we get refresh for the last night?
Yeah, you can have a 24-hour refresh. Obviously, not a major refresh, but a 24-hour refresh.
Damn, that made no difference.
Yeah, I don't know.
So you're asking the question how they do that, right? She says it is a feeding, not in the truest sense, but a feeding in the sense of how one acts in its present. A period of silence, a period of abstinence from gluttonous behavior, a period of absolute celibacy of both thought and action and other physical and mental denials. These are the things that we do to prevent the mouth from feeding.
Would a wanton debauchery and fornication feed it? And harm and pain?
Yes, those very acts were things that our predecessors taught heirs after we apprehended him and discovered that he'd been marked by the small jaws upon his body. We taught him, or the group, my predecessors taught him over the course of many, many weeks, the rituals of self-denial to allow the small jaws to fall quiet and silent. We let heirs go after that, and he has taken himself away into the desert to live a life of solitude, a life of absolute celibacy.
Are you sure? Are you sure he's not the cause of the lull? Did the times match? Did the lull form after he had gone into the desert?
Yes. We know that he has taken himself away from this place. Therefore, we do not believe he is responsible.
There's only one way to find out. Head to the lull and see if he's there.
So, you will travel to Dalal. You will tell us what you find of this poison flower, so we may be better prepared, better able to keep the eating pit quiet, prevent it from being fed.
Sounds to coincide with our aims.
But I do think we shall go to Dalal after we've been to the mountain, because we told your chieftain that we would not be going to Dalal. And he's given us trackers to take us to the mountain.
Yeah, they've
You know
offered
what?
better.
I will speak with the chief. I will ensure that our trackers are the ones who take you. They will report that you were taken to the dig site. But
Was your-
you may choose which to go to first. I will not hold that against you. I would just hope that you would indeed be true to your word, true to your goals.
Is your friend really injured and needs medical aid, or was this a ruse to test our intentions?
Smile.
Okay.
We have ways of making people appear sick. She kind of
But her life is not
puts her hand
at risk.
into a small pouch and she pulls out a little bit of kind of blackened stuff. This creates the symptoms that your friend saw. I'm sorry for your subterfuge, but
I'm just
I
glad
need you
that
to
she's
know
not at
whether
risk.
you were caring and we're not here for your own gains.
I'll echo Alfred's voice there and say the same. I'm just glad she's well. And I understand your suspicion, having dealt with people like us in the past.
She kind of smiles. She'll suffer for a day or two, but she understands the reasonings. She'll be backed up for a couple of days and then she'll shit for Britain.
Right, well, let's get provisioned.
Anything else you want to try and ask her? There was one other piece of information you could attempt to get out of her.
Are there any strange artifacts, like idols and things there that have been moved, or is everything still there from when the volcano erupted?
She doesn't know because she hasn't been to the site.
What happened to Akuna?
He escaped. Best she knows, he escaped before they brought down the fire.
Okay, if you're preventing the mouths from feeding the stomach, what or where is the stomach?
It's a bloody good question. I need to try and find that out because it's not clear in her in the notes about her and her companion.
So this isn't the thing that we can try and get out of her.
Have you heard the name Echevarria before?
No. So the stomach, she tells you, is inside the shrine that Ayres and Akuna were desperate to open.
Can it be destroyed?
She doesn't know. She also says she does not know the rituals to keep the small jaws pacified. This is something that her predecessors knew and not something that was passed down to her.
Have you ever heard the name Golgoth before? Golgoroth, sorry.
She shakes her head.
Oh, we find them.
No.
Are your sect all female?
We are both.
Is a man named Jerome one of yours?
She smiled. He watched you for a while and was not sure. When he learned that you were heading our way, he told us to seek you out and to decide for ourselves if you were for or against our purpose.
I'm glad he's on our side.
As I flick through my book of notes, refresh my memory, Jerome was...
The guy that accosted me that warned us away from going this way, member of the Akuna.
Yeah.
It's,
Well, He did,
Westminster, not
he did a little bit more than just that, but I don't think you've necessarily put two and two together about some of the other things he did.
he's the one that basically ransacked our rooms and gave the passports to the. Yeah, we had put two and two together.
Okay, you had put two and two together. Yeah. He ransacked your room and stole your passports.
Yeah.
They take their leave. A little bit later, in comes two youngish men, a little bit dressed more like, I guess, Westerners than, or European, should I say, than the tribesmen. They introduce themselves in almost perfect English as Richard and Charles.
I'll offer my hand.
They shake it. They're still, they're still black-skinned. They're still native. But you clearly get the sense, and the way they speak to you, though, it has that slight Italian twang to it. So they've clearly spent some time amongst the Italian army and the Italians, and that's probably where they've picked up their English and probably Italian as well. We're taking you to the ancient dig site, I understand.
Yes.
We have prepared camels for the journey.
Are they easy to ride?
They are easy enough as long as we don't have to ride hard or ride fast.
I've never ridden anything.
The journey will be difficult. The temperatures here are challenging for the likes of yourselves. But we should be there by the end of the evening, by nightfall, all being well. Are you ready?
I am. Right, you two.
Picture George Ayres.
Yeah, pretty much.
I just wouldn't mind getting some milk to have along the way.
Yeah, well, they're providing provisions and things.
Wonderful, yeah.
Better guide provisions. Yeah, see what we find at the mountain. It might point us towards the lull anyway.
Okay.
I'd be interested in knowing whether Ez is at the law and he's started whatever's happening there to try and.
All right.
I will spend a moment before we set off just cleaning my my rifle and reloading it.
Okay, that's not a problem. You can definitely do that. What is going on? Because I can't find the bits I need. There it is. There it is. There it is. There it is. No, that's not the one. Ah, there it is. Okay. All right. You travel for the rest of the day. About 3 or so o'clock in the afternoon, Charles tells you that you're about 2 to 3 more hours of travel. You notice sort of in that kind of heat haze stood atop actually, sorry, before I go there, if you've got sense trouble, can you give me a sense trouble roll, please? Your target is 4. You may spend any number of points from your sense trouble pool to add to your dice roll. Oh, there you go, Alfred. Anybody else? Ralph is spending 2. Nice. And Joseph is spending 2. Okay, all of you. Well, Joseph just, but the other 2. The 3 of you, almost all at the same time, kind of point at the same thing. So in the heat haze atop a sand dune, you can see what appears to be a figure. Joseph, you spot it because it's kind of a darkened figure atop a sort of a light, hazy background. But both Ralph and Alfred, you spot it because you see the glint of sunlight off a pair of binoculars. Best you can tell, and Alfred, you get your binoculars out and look back. It appears to be a man sat atop a hammock watching you. And he is definitely watching you. Looking at the dress and skin colour, he appears to be a native afar.
I'll point him out to Richard and Charles. Is he one of your sect, or are we to expect trouble?
They look. They get their own binoculars out and they look, and he's not one of ours. Possibly one of the Dalalites. This is their territory after all.
Not exactly being so subtle, is it?
No. They watch. Probably wondering who we are, where we're going. You doing anything particular?
Wave?
Or are you...
I was almost tempted to do that too. Hello, wave.
Wave.
Yeah.
You can wave.
Yeah, just
No.
prove that we've seen them.
Yeah, you
know that
wave. No reaction. You continuing, ignoring them? You're going to go towards them? What are you going to do?
How far away are they roughly?
The moment, about half a mile.
I suppose ignore them.
It's not in the. So we're heading south east, aren't we? So whereabouts are they? Sorry, south.
They are more to the west of you.
Oh, behind us, right?
Sort of southwest of you.
Gotcha. Yeah.
For the next hour, as you continue to head, sort of skirting the southern part of the Dalol Mountain towards what's marked on this map here as the 1926 crater and the dig site, the figure tracks to you. And then, after about an hour, just seems to disappear down sand dune and out of view. An hour later, no sign. Nothing in the distance that would suggest there's anything coming towards you.
Keep an eye out in case they come back from different directions.
And then about an hour later, you arrive at the dig site. The Dalal Mountain is a broad expanse of colourful salt flats periodically interrupted by mineral pillars and brine pools. The immediate landscape is similar to what you've seen so far as they've travelled around Cthulhu, Iron Point, and the journey here. The squat Dalal Mountain rises only about 150 feet above the plain, a stretched oval roughly 2 miles by 1 mile. The southwest side of the mountain boasts impressive salt canyons caused by slow eruption over the centuries. Top of the mountain sports a very broad crater, also very old. But you kind of skirt this and you kind of head down beyond the salt canyons to a smaller crater, roughly 30 yards across, relatively shallow depression. And it is to this crater that Richard and Charles take you, explaining to you that this was what was opened, or what opened up on the site of the, round about the dig site.
So this is the location of the shrine.
Yes.
I suppose anyone wrote some dynamite to destroy the shrine. And possibly set off another volcano.
Just outside the edge of the crater's walls, more to the south, you discover a small cairn.
Recently built, or
It is clear to you that it was assembled after the eruption. There is no way it would have withstood the upheaval. Joseph, to you with geology, you have geology, don't you? It's natural stone, like local stone, probably put together in the form of a cairn. And that's kind of, yeah.
Is it big enough to sort of cover a body, or is it just literally a cairn that they've just...
It's definitely big enough to cover at least one body.
Maybe it's some form of grave. Does it look like the ground beneath it's been... I mean, it's sand, isn't it? It's going to shift all over the place.
Yeah. Actually, I mean, this area, because of the volcanic eruption, is more magma, with a layer of sand now over top of it as the magma's kind of rolled in and blown in and stuff. So it's very... it's a lot more stable than further out away from the mountain and the sands that you've travelled over.
Yeah, I don't wish to disturb this cairn. Yet.
I was going to say it might give us information, but we don't know who built it. Going to desecrate something on the side of the Allies, but it was the cultists, and I'm all for ripping it apart.
In fact, Richard, who built this cairn?
We don't know, but we believe it would have been the local afar. There were many from Dalol who were killed when the eruption happened.
And that's what it is. It's to symbolise a grave, is it?
That is our belief. We would not wish to desecrate it to confirm. But
That's fine, long as it's not built by the people who were trying to get into the chamber afterwards.
spend a little bit of time looking around this crater. It's very obvious to you, Joseph, that this is something known as a phreatic subaerial. An eruption that occurs when magma from below the Earth's surface comes into contact with underground water. The resulting steam explosion throws earth and rock into the air before collapsing on itself to form the type of crater now in evidence. In more temperate environments, you're used to craters like this becoming lakes.
Just out here, it's just a bowl, a dried out bowl.
Correct, yeah.
Can it go and look down into it? How deep are we talking?
A few yards.
Oh, so it's not like a cave. No.
A few yards.
There's no fumes or anything coming off from any cracks.
No, absolutely not. It just appears to be a fairly shallow, now extinct crater.
Easily climbable. Get
Yeah.
into it.
Yeah.
And what sort of time are we at now?
It's getting late afternoon, early evening.
I think it might be wise to perhaps set up a camp in that case.
Richard and Charles have brought a number of accoutrements. They've brought one of their village, their tribal tents, which can house all of you, and they'll begin to sort of set it up a little bit away from the crater. They will kind of stake out the camels to make sure that they don't wander too far. Prepare some food and things.
I'll stand at the edge of the crater and take a look inside it with the binoculars to see if I can see anything that's potentially being left behind that's not natural.
Do you have biology?
No.
Okay.
I'm thinking like tools or man-made objects type of thing. Like
it is. At the moment, most of the contents or whatever could be down there is in a fairly, I won't say a thick layer of sand, but has been covered over.
Okay.
It certainly doesn't seem to have any tracks in it to say somebody's been in there recently. You have brought, certainly Richard and Charles, you probably would have done yourself, have brought a number of tools. But as it's getting dark, it's probably not.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking of going down now. I was thinking a brief scan just in case the weather turns overnight and buries anything that is visible now.
Yeah, it's a good job I brought my metal detector.
The night passes fairly uneventful. You're woken occasionally by strange nighttime desert noises, some close, some more distant. Every now and then when you wake, you can see either Richard or Charles just stood near the entrance, rifle in hand. I mean, that's the other thing, is they've actually brought firearms with them rather than spears or anything. For the most part, they don't have you watch. You can obviously watch alongside them if you don't trust them. But you have a fairly you have a fairly good night's sleep. Nothing amazing. It's a little bit uncomfortable, but nothing too disruptive. You awake to once again a traditional afar breakfast of milk, meat, and some kind of slightly drier now pancake. And Richard and Charles kind of ask how long you plan to stay.
Well, we want to search the area and
Search the place to see where it leads.
Okay.
You might find something that leads us to a particular direction, or
They will. Okay, so they will stand watch and keep an eye whilst you do whatever it is you want to do in the crater. What you notice is they will not go anywhere near the edge of the crater. They kind of, they've camped probably 100 yards from the crater, and they keep that kind of distance away from it at all.
I'm going to go to the crater, lay on my belly, and take my saber out and prod the ground inside the crater if I can reach.
It's a bit further than arm's length. You're probably looking about 10, 15 feet down. So it's a little bit further, but it looks sandy. It looks like there's a decent layer of sand in there. What's below that, it's hard to tell. Whether it's quickish sand, easy to sink in, whether it's compact sand. To really find out what's down there, you're going to have to grab your tools. You're going to have to get in there, get dirty, and start digging around.
Yeah, in which case, have we got rope?
Yeah, you've got stuff to get you in, get you out, tools to dig, and things to use to kind of examine the place.
Lovely. Yeah, so I'll take a piece of rope out. I'll drive a spike into the ground if I can to support it and use it as an anchor.
Okay. All right.
I'll just take instructions from the experts and be the physical.
So the kind of things that you can use here would be forensic, evidence collection, anthropology, history, biology.
Okay.
You don't need, there's no physical spends required, but just explain to me which skill you're using and why you're using it, and I can tell you what you may or may not find.
I've got evidence collection, which I'll use to see if there's any trace of the people that have been here. So anything man-made again.
Okay. So you kind of guide. Ralph, are you getting stuck in as well?
Yeah, I'll be able to. Yeah.
Okay. You kind of guide both Ralph and Joseph as to kind of how to use the tools. You give them a bit of a crash course kind of in police work, right? In evidence collection. Do you have forensics as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, forensics. Okay. And does Ralph...
I've got anthropology.
Yeah.
That'll help. That'll help me indicating some.
Yeah. Right.
I'll be using my geology just to make sure that everything's sound down there.
Right, the first thing to know is you all are starting to feel the heat. You're in one of the hottest parts of Ethiopia in the salt desert. You basically spend a day of very hard work in the grand scheme of things because of the heat. But digging around throughout the day, you start to come across some very interesting things. And actually, as long as all three of you are participating, you can basically clear out all the things that you need to find here in a day. If only two of you, it stretches to 2 days, one of you, 3 days, etc. So the first thing that's obvious as you start to dig and clear away is that this crater is pretty much ground zero for the dig site. You start to find fragments of scientists' mundane tools, shovels, picks, stakes. Actually, when you kind of do a recce around the edge of the perimeter of the crater and beyond, Joseph, you actually find a couple of tools about a mile away. And there's like here and there you clearly find man-made objects scattered in a big radius around this place, up to sort of a mile away. Closer and inside the kind of the crater, you start to uncover body parts. A skull here, an arm bone there, a hip bone, a spine. Again, scattered throughout the area. And Joseph, you find 2 or 3 pieces away from the rim of the crater as well. And when you show these to Alfred, his conclusion is that they died at ground zero. They died at the point of eruption. There's nothing else. There's no evidence on the bones that would suggest it was anything other than that. No animal scratches or animal attacks, etc. So no evidence to suggest the bodies were gnawed, shot, tortured, or similar prior to an obvious cause of death.
They were just separated really, really fast and at high speed.
Yeah. The further down in the kind of the sand you go, you start to uncover worked stone. These are odd, and it takes Joseph quite some time to really figure out that these were worked stone. They're quite blackened, they're rounded, they've been sandblasted, they've been steam blasted. And again, Ralph, you also pick up on these kind of stones. Your anthropology tells you that these are more man-made than natural. So between you, you kind of put together that these are consistent with things that Ralph has read in the books that have been discovered in other ancient African dig sites. But nothing that you find suggests or has any information or markings to suggest any kind of shrine or temple or other thing. But it's near some of these that you find something a little bit bizarre. And at first, you're not sure whether these are just odd pebbles. But the more you look at them, the more you think that they are teeth, but fossilized teeth. They don't seem to correspond to any of the animals that you know to inhabit the desert in the modern day. And Ralph, I think you're going to be okay here. you don't even think from a historical perspective that they represent any animal that may have lived here centuries or even millennia ago, that have died out or moved on.
Yeah, well, that's-
How big are the teeth?
They're a little bit bigger than human teeth, but they all share the same kind of common similarity to suggest that they have come from the same type of creature. But going through the you kind of uncover all this over the course of the day, and as the night begins to fall again, you stop finding anything new. You've dug down, you've hit the kind of the solid ground underneath the sand at the bottom of the crater. Here and there you find these bits of work, stone, bone, tools, teeth, but you don't find any chamber or any shrine or any way down beneath. So you've no idea what, if anything, the dig site had uncovered. You've no idea how far down it went. You've just got no way of knowing. It looks like the main area of the dig site was obliterated by the crate.
Is the floor of this dig site warm or? No, it's cold.
Other than the fact that it's been sat in the sun in a very hot environment for quite some time.
And two other things. These teeth were not in a specific location. They were all over with it. Yeah. And if I had my pickaxe and I was banging on the rock, there would be no sort of chamber behind, testing for hollow.
No.
No.
Looks like much of the rock had caved in on itself. So the ground in sort of almost in the middle of this is it's not uniform, it's not compact, it's broken up and then is filled in with sand. But the pieces of rock are clearly, you would need block and tackle and winches to kind of start moving some of this rock. But as far as you can tell, this crater eruption has filled whatever has been backfilled in behind it.
Gotcha.
So we've only found teeth, no other parts or whatever creature had it. There's no skulls or so nothing to gauge its size or just that it was humanoid because it looks like human teeth.
And how many of these teeth have we found, roughly?
20, 30.
So more than one creature then.
Assuming it hasn't got 1,000 mouths.
Or 1,000 young.
Yeah.
They're not goat teeth, by the way. So it's definitely not Shub Niggurath. The goat with 1,000 young. Darkness falls, you make your way back to camp. You realise you are exhausted and quite dehydrated. In fact,
Well, take the teeth, because when we get back to civilization, someone else might be able to identify them.
yeah. You are starting to struggle in the heat. This is definitely an area that is hotter than you've ever been. Interestingly, the average high temperature in here in the 1960s. And so in the 1960s, Dalal was identified as the literal hottest place on Earth with the average annual high temperature of 106 degrees Fahrenheit, which is what, 40 odd degrees C?
Something like the other week here.
Yeah. So
Which
I guess
wasn't as hot because it wasn't humid.
Yeah.
It was a dry heat, so it was quite nice.
Yeah, so that is quite pleasant compared to what we've had.
Yeah.
Give me this temperature that you're describing to 24 degrees in England with the humidity rammed up the wizard.
Yeah. I second that. But
Well, I think it's
I would suggest, gentlemen, if we're going to be spending any more time digging or doing any physical labour, then I would suggest we do it in the.
I think we search this crater out. Unless we're going on to somewhere else of there, are we going on to
how far the canyons, if they're deep canyons, or
The salt canyons.
The Salt Canyons are a couple of miles towards Dalal Mountain. Probably no, not a couple of miles. They're probably about half a kilometre from where you are to the Salt Canyons, and then from there maybe another kilometre up to the top of Dalal Mountain, this 150-foot high volcanic crater.
Probably worth going and having a look.
yeah. I think if we set off at first light in the morning.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but hydrate time.
Yeah, you chill out in the tent, you cool down, you hydrate. It is certainly it's cooler at night, and for that, you're kind of thankful. The following morning,
I would suggest we get up before dawn as well.
yeah,
Eat and hydrate, and then
Head out.
start before the sun.
it is as you are breaking camp, as dawn's light breaks, the sun slowly begins to rise, that you see once again, this time more from the north of where you are, a figure on a camel, shimmering in the early morning heat. This time, though, every few seconds it seems to grow larger.
Oh, take a look through the binoculars. See if it looks to be similar dressed to the last.
Very similar to the last one. Definitely in a far. Definitely
And?
coming towards you.
And
It doesn't appear to be. After about 10 minutes, he comes into view. And he pauses maybe 100 or so feet away from you. He just sits there impassively. Then calls out in Italian. And Charles kind of looks at each of you. You speak Italian?
afraid not.
No, sorry.
He's greeting you.
Greet him back.
He does. He's asking if he may enter camp.
Problem, since he's alone.
He appears
why
to be
not?
alone. And he comes in and he says something because he comes in and he stops and then he dismounts his camel. And then he says something in Italian and Charles responds back. And then the man says, in very broken English, Apologies, gentlemen. My English not great. You are invited by my spiritual leader Toshombe to visit in Dalol. We wish to know why you have disturbed ancient resting site of our ancestors.
Our deepest respects and thanks to your spiritual leader for the invitation. And we have no intention of disturbing it. We are just looking around.
We're searching for evidence of a man called Ayres. Has he been to your town or village?
I know not of this heirs, but Toshombe might. Come, we go today. Yes? Richard and Charles kind of look at you both.
We wanted to have a look at the canyon over there before we did anything else.
It is pretty. But please, I come, I look.
In which case, yes, we'll head off with our plans normal.
Okay. Richard and Charles finish breaking down the camp, and they kind of encourage you to go off and take a look at the salt canyons while they do so. The canyons show definite signs of tooling, and actually, this Dalolite basically tells you that this is where his people, his ancestors, would mine the salt rocks to ship further north to Mersa Fatma and beyond. There doesn't appear to be any connection, any passage, or anything that you can see visible that would lead back in the direction of the crater. And there doesn't appear to be anything out of the ordinary down there. No ancient ruins, no nothing. It appears to literally be a canyon that has been mined out of salt, and its various degrees of depth as you look down it.
Ralph, did you want to go to the volcano?
I don't think the volcano's going anywhere. You can come back to it.
From here, I'll take a look at the volcano through the binoculars, just to take in the sights as much as anything else.
Yeah.
See if there's anything. See if there's any buildings or anything being built around the mouth that I can see.
No, nothing.
Oh, well, I'll be continuing my habit of drawing badly.
Yeah.
It's my notebook as well, so I'll take a drawing of the teeth, just in case they go amiss, and then obviously the salt canyons and the volcano.
Yeah, I kind of get that this kind of sketch here is probably a sketch that Ralph has subsequently made and stuck.
It could be as bad as that, yeah.
Yeah. It's just a sketch of the area, roughly what he sees. Nothing spectacular, nothing out of the ordinary. But yeah, as far as you can tell, there's no smoke billowing out of the mountain, out of the crater. It seems to be fairly dormant.
A huge monster climbing out.
Oh, yeah.
No huge monster.
Just as you look at the top of the crater, his head ducks down.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Richard and Giles.
Okay, they finish packing up. They mount their camels and They're happy to follow you back towards Dalot for the time being. However,
They don't want to go there.
I'm going to say, as you get to about 1 kilometre away, they make their apologies and they just simply say they cannot go to the village. However, they will camp, and they point in a rough direction, sort of north of Dalot, north of the area, about 1 kilometre or so to the north of Dalot. They will camp for 48 hours. If you don't return and find them in 48 hours, they will assume that the worst has happened and they will leave. They won't come looking for you, they will just leave. Okay? But they will wait for you to return you back to Cthulhu.
This chappie that's with us now, do we get his name?
No, not really.
And can we see any weapons on him?
Okay.
Yes.
No,
Well, he has a weapon fastened to the saddle of his camel. It appears to be a blade with a slight curve in it.
Sword size or dagger size?
Sword size.
Like my saber then.
He is. His name is Atimbe. Atimbe. So Atimbe. Sort of pronounced Atimbe.
Right, let's plod on to the village.
Okay.
I'll keep an eye out for any potential ambushes or anything from around us.
As Atimbe leads you into Dalol, the village itself is very similar. Not quite identical, but not very different either from Cthulhu. It is an odd place. There are children, there are people around, but everywhere you look, there appears to be signs of mutilation.
Even the children.
Yes, and it's worn with pride in the sense that they make no attempt to hide it. Here and there you can see that there are marks in arms, marks on bodies, some have fingers missing, a couple of people have hands missing, purely stumps. You can see kind of a couple of dozen of people, a mixture of ages, who come out to kind of watch the procession as you kind of come into the village. Kimbe guides you to kind of like the almost central tent. And he says, "This is the home of our leader, prophet, the wise woman Tashombe. She awaits you. Come, come."
What was the name, sorry?
Tashombe, Tshombe.
Oh, I spelled it right.
You're approaching, it's kind of surprised you a little bit. You were expecting this to be a fairly small group of people, but you're seeing a good 24 tent, maybe a half dozen permanent buildings.
The look that we're getting, do they look hostile or
Intrigue.
okay?
And Ralph, dawns on you that if there are a dozen, 24 tents and buildings here, that doesn't mean there are 24 people here, but 24 families, which could be anything from 4 people to a family, more likely 6 to 8 people to a family. You're looking potentially at a village that isn't a handful of people, but could be anywhere between 80 and 100 people quite easily. Charles and Richard, you'll see them, they'll set up camp just on the edge of vision, probably not a mile out, but maybe sort of a quarter to half a mile out. You can just about make out in the shimmering heat of the day their tent as they put it on. You're walked through the village. You can see, as I said, that many are bandaged, especially on their hands and arms. Many are scarred. Many are missing fingers, a few missing hands, a few missing feet. And as the further into the village you go, you realise it's not just adults. There are children that are missing fingers, children that are scarred, children missing feet, children missing hands.
They all look self-inflicted, or
Do you
by
have first aid on medicine?
I have first aid.
So yes. Many are consistent with biting. Though, glancing around, you notice that some are also consistent with cutting, crushing, whipping, and other kinds of trauma. In fact, what comes to mind almost is the ancient Christian act of flagellation.
Well, is he going to take us in to see the Shombe? Or
Yeah, and all of the procession that comes to join you basically guide you through a mixture of gestures and other things. They guide you to that centre of the village. As you arrive at the centre of the village, many who were following just kind of start to peel off and just disappear back into tents and basically go about their normal business. But you are definitely guided to what turns to be a large salt block building in the centre of sort of a big area in the middle. Do you have a look? Here and there, as you kind of pass by, you can see a girl jabbing at her arm sharply, a glint of light revealing some edge of glass in her hand. Her blood trickles down her arm and from between the fingers that grip the shard. An older relative, perhaps a mother, comes up behind her and takes the glass out of her hand. Any relief you might experience is interrupted when the elder stabs the glass into her own leg. You see a man biting on his bottom lip so hard that blood streams down from his teeth. He absent-mindedly wipes at the blood, smearing it across his chin. A boy, no more than 14, steps out from the crowd and steps up to you, offers a small rusty knife in his open hand. His eyes look generous as his lips peel back in a grin of blood-stained teeth.
When they're doing this, do they look to be in any pain? Does it look to like they're numb to the damage they're doing, or
Oh yeah, you can see pain on their faces, but
right? Okay,
they're embracing it with ecstasy.
right, okay.
You know, their mouth looks like they're in an ecstatic embrace, but there is definitely pain in the eye. As you arrive at the building, you're kind of gestured through the open doorway. A couple of the villagers take your camel's reins and they tie them up outside. You disembarking. Are you dismounting?
Yeah.
As you're dismounted, you're kind of guided without being touched. And actually, those of you with sense honesty or assess honesty, you get the sense that they're treating you with a little bit of deference, a little bit of reverence, even. There is a palpable hint of anticipation amongst the people that are watching your every move.
Just as we're walking through the village, and the same thing with this building that we're coming to, are there any symbols on it like we saw before? On things like the sanitarium and whatnot.
Oh,
Plain.
And those symbols were supposed to ward them away, weren't they?
Yeah, I mean, I was literally just going for any symbols.
Yeah.
Of that sort of type.
two villagers kind of proceed before you into the building. As you do so, you notice that each one of them, the door is wide enough for two people to go in side by side. Each one of them runs their hand along the door frame, and you can see behind them the hints of sticky blood. Now you notice that the door frame itself has thousands of sharp pieces of volcanic glass embedded in the frame. Those behind you watch you with a sense of anticipation.
No, I'm not running my hands along the broken glass.
Okay, you choose not to. Okay.
I pride myself on my good looks and charm. I don't want any scars on my body.
Okay, you choose not to.
I'm not batshit crazy yet.
And you're not batshit crazy yet.
Not yet. Working my way there, but not yet.
There is a little bit of murmuring behind you. A couple of people have a look of confusion about them. Some whispering. But nothing else. Nobody draws knives and tries to attack you or shouts and screams at the heretic.
They're more likely to draw knives and attack themselves. I hope.
Yeah.
Other villagers follow behind you, each one of them running their hands over the shards of glass. You find yourself inside a slightly darkened room. There is a window that lets a little bit of light in. An elderly woman awaits you in an outer room of the building. It's clear that the building must occupy at least, contain at least two chambers. You can see a doorway obscured by hanging cloth that leads deeper into the building. The woman before you appears to be in her 30s, neither old nor young compared to other women in the village. Unlike other women, she is not bare-breasted. Rather, she wears a shawl wrapped around her torso, which is doubly odd in that the outlines of only one breast can be seen beneath. There is a very old and grossly mutilated afar man sits on a stump of some native wood just to her side. Both of his eyes are gone, hollow sockets gaping where they once were. Both of his feet have been severed, his entire right arm is gone at the shoulder. He kind of raises his head in your direction and in English, pretty good English accent. Welcome, visitors. The wind is pleased that you have come to us. Shoshombe sits. The others, who have come in sit kind of in a semicircle behind you. You're kind of now stood with Toshombe in front of you, this elderly man to her left-hand side, and a row of villagers sat behind. Toshombe says something in afar to the man. Toshombe wishes that you sit. Please.
Are there
Yep.
any weapons in the room?
Not that you can see.
I'll kneel rather than sit so I can get up faster.
Okay, you kneel.
I would I would sit be the most comfortable position I could possibly get in. But I would be checking for any sharp things around me first.
You sit down and then you find out that there's a spike underneath you.
Yeah.
Okay. Ooh, do I have? Oh no, I don't have that. Why don't I have that? Oh, I'm missing something. Give me a second, please. One moment, callers.
I was thinking that one of them might have had a bow with the missing breast. What they did for archery, wasn't it?
I'm not missing it because it's not in the list. That's really interesting. Glancing around the room, you can see that the walls are covered in strange script and myriad tribal symbols in a haphazard, multi-layered scroll.
Any look familiar to what we've seen before?
Too hard to tell. The this it's very hard to tell. Trying to see. Okay. I do not know. Bizarre. So normally, so I've actually been put somewhere else, but it shouldn't have been. No, I'm going to assume that this is missing. Okay, that's really unusual. Normally, all of this is in a bunch of folders, so I can see what I grab what I need. But for some reason, there's a reference in my notes to this particular prop, and it's not in the props folder. Okay. She kind of sits back and she kind of waits.
Is she looking at anything in particular?
She's just looking at you.
You still standing, Ralph?
I'm not standing.
I'll be looking around, checking the expressions on the villagers around. They look.
You watch as one of the villagers sat just to your left behind you sort of stands up, goes over to the wall, bends down, picks what looks like a piece of charcoal up, or a small stick. She dips it in the blood on her hand, begins to draw some symbols on the wall. After a few seconds, she stops. She puts the charcoal down, comes back and sits and smiles.
Yeah, but
She leans over to the man and she says something. Deshombe says the wind spoke of you to her. She has seen you in her dreams. She wishes to know, do you have the shard?
the shard. Shard of what?
The stone. The fragment of stone.
I do not.
She has seen it in your possession. It protects that beneath it. She knows not what it protects, but the wind tells her she should know.
You covet the shard, or does she covet the shard?
Yeah, that's the translation that he gives you.
And where would this shard be found?
And he translates back and she comes back and she says that in her dream you dug it from the ground that was wet.
That would be the grave.
Yeah, it's the dagger, isn't it? But I'd realised what it was as soon as you said the shard, but I do not have it. I can't remember who does or whether it's on the plane or whatever.
You do not. You do not have it?
I honestly can't remember.
No, we do not.
Moment, if you remember, you got
A safe box, didn't we?
you had it in a safe box, and you had taken something out of the safe box and the book had set on fire,
Yeah.
which had made Keynes really, really nervous.
But did we put it back in the box, or did we take it with us?
No, I don't think you've got it with you. I think you've got it. You've left it somewhere.
Yeah.
No, I think you did take the shard with you, didn't
No,
you?
we brought the stuff with us that we thought we would need here.
Yeah. So that was the shard, the dagger, I think. You left the notebook in the aeroplane, and that's why it set on fire, because the protections that were being afforded to you by the shard were broken. Says the GM, now just giving away a load of stuff.
Yeah, we'd kind of guessed that they were giving protection, but we'd guessed our characters probably haven't.
I had the
Because it wouldn't
foggiest.
make any sense.
No, I thought we'd brought a crate down with us with the stuff in.
Yeah, I certainly think you've brought a crate with you with most of the stuff in, but I think you left the notebook with other things on the aeroplane, because I seem to recall I specifically asked you where that book was, and it was when you told us you'd left it behind that I was able to make it catch on fire. Because you had the other accoutrements from the box with you that were protecting that from happening. But she seems to be asking to see it. And she describes the dagger that you have, that you found, and she describes she describes that dagger in absolute immaculate detail, like as if she's physically seen it herself. The stone shard, though, she just describes as a broken piece of stone with some writing on it, and that's it. She can't tell you what the writing is. She can't tell you anything more about it.
I haven't generally been carrying any of this.
No, I haven't.
Assume Ralph had been carrying it. It's because it's more his expertise, but
Did
he
you
would
look
have been
at the
carrying it.
tray?
With his wibble box.
On me. It's not on my sheet, but I know I had it on me. It's whether it was left. I think we'll have brought it on the travel down, because we took the boat down, didn't we?
Yeah.
I think we took it on the train. It's whether it was the train went back, so we'd have had to take stuff off the train.
Train
So
hasn't gone back.
it's either on me or it's in the camp about a quarter of a mile away.
You didn't. The train didn't go back. The train stayed because you were.
Oh yeah, there was no thingy, was there?
Yeah.
There was no need.
So it's up to you. So I can give you a choice. If you really want it on you, and because we haven't established
I want to
it,
spend some points preparedness.
if you want to spend a point of preparedness, then
Yes,
you've got those items with you. Okay. And then the next question is: are you going to show them to her? Are you going to show them to her?
Yeah, I'm leaning towards a no, but let's cure them.
I'm kind of leaning towards a yes, but I've got a thirst for knowledge and what I see handles.
Yeah.
Okay, I am going to invoke your thirst for knowledge.
Yeah. That's the only reason I mentioned it. It's like I would give it to her just to find out what, or show it her just to see what the crack.
Okay, so she takes the dagger from you and she looks at it and she kind of turns it
Strikes me.
over and there's a smile across her face, and after a few moments she kind of says something and he nods and he says, "It is as the wind foretold. It is as the wind showed her. Thank you." And she hands it back to you. And you do the same with the stone, and she runs her hand over. She traces the etchings and the carvings in the stone, and she just simply says the same thing. It is as the wind told her. It is the wind foretold.
What is this wind you speak of?
You wait for a second for the translation, and then Tashombe kind of nods. And you can see her demeanor. It becomes enthusiastic, and the man translates as fast as he can. Tells you that Tashombe says that her tribe first heard the wind's voice some years ago. It revealed itself slowly to them in dreams and signs and in ways of the ways of its veneration. And since they worshipped the wind, it is their worship has been rewarded by a significant increase in the number in Dalal. Many relatives from the tribe have come to join them since they came to dwell permanently in the village. There is a drawing, and as you must know if you too have heard its voice, the voice of the agony is the voice whose counsel opens the way to the purest of experience. Almost what's the word I'm looking for? Subconsciously, the man holds out his good hand to Shombe. And you can see that he's kind of trying to pat something. And she takes his hand and she slides it up her shawl. And then you see strange and disturbing movements of the fabric. Hearing a faint hiss and a wet tearing. The man's face is racked with an ecstatic pain. And then moments later you see rivulets of blood drip down to Shombe's belly, beneath whatever the shawl is covering. The man writhes on his stump, tears of pain and joy leaving dusty tracks on his cheek. Although Tashombe does not... I'll stop there. Let me go something away then. Yeah, so this is horrific. And I'd like you all to make a 5-point stability test. So you need 5 or more on a d6. You can add as many points of stability as you wish, but bear in mind if you fail it, you will lose 5 points plus whatever you spend. To add to the horrificness, you feel a swaying and a soft chanting behind you, a wailing. The people sat behind you all start to pull out knives or shards of glass, or they even start to bite into their own flesh in unison with the cries of the man. Okay, Joseph, you've made it. Alfred, you've made it. Ralph, you've made it.
I see this stuff every week. No.
I'm glad I spent 4.
What?
That's all I can say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you want to do? How do you want to react to this?
with disgust and almost a point of not curiosity, but what happened?
I'll definitely be rising to my feet.
Yeah.
I'll be looking around nervously, looking to somehow extract myself from this situation.
Okay.
Yeah.
The people behind you are too busy. They're too enwrapped. They're caught up in this what is to them a rapture moment. They will not they will not prevent you from leaving.
But something up her top bit off his hand.
That's how it looked. Like there's essentially a creature under that, attached to her, that attacked him.
Or she's got a blade sticking out of her chest.
Yeah.
Was it when it happened? Was it a crunching noise or
Just a wet tearing sound?
tearing? Right, so it's not a blade then.
How long are you going to observe this for?
Not long. I
Yeah.
want to get out of there before they try
Less
and...
than a minute? More than a minute?
Probably less than a minute for Ralph.
Yeah.
Ralph is out there almost straight away as soon as this begins to happen.
Yep.
Yeah. Same.
Once a stump comes out, I'm the same. I'm backing off.
Okay. About a minute later, the man withdraws his hand and he holds it in the air, and you notice that it has been gnawed and chewed, and there is blood just oozing down the wrist to the elbow. And he stands there, or sits there because he can't stand, kind of ecstatically waving it. Immediately, two of the men, or the villagers behind you, Joseph, begin to speak and shout in triumphant, and you can tell the way they do it in triumphant words. Several villagers stand, they pick the man up, and they carry him out through the covered doorway in the rear.
Yeah, I've gone.
Okay. As you find yourself outside, oddly, you are once again struck by the heat. Even for, it's probably getting close to midday, the heat just erupts over you. There is a sense of foreboding. That which you've just witnessed seems strange to you, seems horrific that somebody could do such a thing. But what's kind of churning through your head is, what was under her shawl? And as you emerge out into the sunlight, taking in deep breaths of dry, hot air, trying to push down that almost sense of panic, asking questions in your head, that's where we'll leave it.
I'm not going to sleep tonight, am I?
I'm hungry now.
See, the thing is, I actually know what's under there, and I'm not going to sleep well tonight. Right, so just a reminder, no game next week because I'm travelling to Baltimore. We will be back pretty much. There might be one more interruption, but my goal when I come back week after next will be to run us through to Christmas. And we won't take anywhere near as long off at Christmas. I'll just take the minimum that we need to.
Wonderful.
I hope you enjoyed it. Welcome back. I thought that was good to ratchet up the horror a little bit because we've not had a lot of horror recently.
Wibble, wibble.
But
We're
the
all
thing
stumpy.
is, now,
Uh,
Ralph, thirst for knowledge. Do you want to know what's under that shawl?
Absolutely, but not at this moment in time.
Yeah, not after spending 9 points of stability. I don't want to know what's under there.
Bloody hell.
I just realised.
Now it's whether it's
all that
that's
to
a thirst for knowledge, or I see the thirst for knowledge for it's like books and things like that, or what an item is, or things like that.
Yeah.
What some dodgy woman's got under her shawl? Not so sure.
No.
Could just be a hungry rat.
Yeah, you didn't get the sense it was a hungry rat, that's for sure. Well, next week. Not next week, week after. You can continue to investigate Dalal. Nobody's been threatening to you just yet, so you can continue to investigate. You can try and figure out what is under there. You can figure out where they took the
Yes.
interpreter. Continue to investigate the village itself. All of those things are possible.
Sell them some better doors, don't have any sharp bits.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we need to spend some experience to gain the skills to investigate. I just realised I've got loads to spend.
Sorry,
Are we on 20 now with tonight?
Yeah.
That was session 10, wasn't it?
Give yourself another 2 points, so you should be up to 20. Yeah.
So I've got 6 points to spend at some point.
Yeah.
10 to spend, so I think I need to spend some.
Yeah.
So we could spend something into riding now. Experienced camels.
You have experienced camels.
How's the experience, camels? So gets lonely in the night.
Not that lonely. Yeah, I'm thinking putting points into riding to get the hell out of here might be a good idea at the moment.
All right. So.
Yep, so back on the 26th.
Correct.
Uh,
Hang on. Before we go. So, let's see how this takes to download.
Are we on Thursday, by the way?
Yeah, we're on Thursday.
Yeah, we are.
Let's just 1 second. Let's just open the chat. Let's see if this will post. Yeah. Give me a second. Right, there you go. I will add this to Foundry for next time, but that, I've just posted it in chat on Discord, are the symbols and the scrawlings that you see on the wall of Tashombe's house.
Which chat you posted, sorry?
The D&D chat, the actual Discord chat. But let me do this. Do this really quickly so I don't forget.
Right.
All right, okay, great. So not the chat for Eternal Lies, but this chat.
Yeah.
Voice. Right, okay. I can't say it's a great album cover, but I'm not entirely sure what it is.
Yeah.
Looks like
It is actually a great album cover.
There's one with a pitchfork in the bottom left-hand corner. Hand in the top right corner. lots of writing